Hello, everyone. Welcome to UC Berkeley and welcome to our virtual panel today. We're so excited to have all of you here today to learn about Berkeley. Today. We know there's a lot happening in the world, so we really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to join us today. With that, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Kristina. I'm a current UC Berkeley student. I use the she, her, hers pronoun series. I'm from Whittier, California, and actually not a junior, a rising senior student here at UC Berkeley now. I major in IOR, Industrial Engineering and Operations Research. And other than being involved in the campus ambassador family, I'm part of the UC Rally Committee, which is one of our spirit groups on campus, part of Hispanics in Engineering and Science, part of Society of Women Engineers, and a bunch of other clubs. I'll be today's moderator. I'll be taking questions from the Q&A function at the bottom of our screen and asking it to our lovely panelists today. So feel free to use that Q&A function, but I'll briefly talk about what the panel is going to look like today. So we're going to have a 1-hour panel, again, kind of centered around the Q&A function. The chat is disabled. We'll be sending chat messages to you guys, but you guys won't be able to send them back. But any questions you have, feel free to type them in the Q&A. Our panelists are excited, and we even have people on the back end typing out answers to questions. So don't be afraid. There's no stupid questions. Just like ask anything you're curious about. If after this panel you need more information on Berkeley, feel free to head over to visit.berkeley.edu for a lot of other virtual info sessions and different tours, or you can email any questions to tour@berkeley.edu. With that, I'll let all of our panelists introduce themselves for the day.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily. I use the she, her series for pronouns, and I am a current rising junior from Auburn, California, which is a small town in between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. I'm majoring in molecular cell biology and public health, and I am involved in Greek life, the ASUC Mental Health Commission, and I'm also doing cancer research at UCSF. That's where I'm at right now, coming at you live from my lab, and I'm also in training to be an EMT for the rest of the summer.
Awesome. So I'll introduce myself. I am Casey. I use the pronouns he, him, his, originally from and currently broadcasting from Long Beach, California. It says I'm a senior, but I'm actually really an alumni. I graduated like a month ago. It's really sad. Don't remind me. I majored in chemistry, got a BS in chemistry, and some of my involvement on campus, besides being campus ambassador, was with Rally Committee, like Kristina, just doing Cal Spirited related things, Cal Student Philanthropy, making sure money is available to our students there on campus for some things. And also IM Sports, which is like competing for fun more than competing to win. It's competing with your friends and just having fun while doing so. That's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Casey. Hello, everyone. I'm Nina. I use the she, her, hers pronouns. I'm originally from Ghent, Belgium, but I'm joining you here live from Berkeley. I'm actually not a sophomore, so I'm a rising junior now, but in that awkward transition period, I guess. I'm a double major in business and statistics with a minor in industrial engineering and operations research like Kristina. While being an awesome campus ambassador like Casey, Kristina, and Emily, I'm involved in Voyager Consulting, which is a consulting group here on campus, where in the past I've worked with Costco and with Benefit Cosmetics. I'm also part of the Women in Network community, as well as doing an off-campus internship actually with EA Games, not anymore with the chocolate company. And I'm also going to be an SLC tutor, as well as being part of Greek life.
Yeah, so as you can see from my little introductions, all these panelists, like best of the best, they're involved in so many different things. So really any question you have, there's going to be someone on our panel that can answer it. So thank you to all of our panelists today. And I'm going to quickly stop sharing screen, and we'll just get right into the questions and right into our panel today. Before we get started, we're going to have different polls pop up on the screen. So the first poll that just popped up on your screen is asking, who are you? So whether you're a admitted transfer student, community college student, senior, junior, somewhere in the middle. I know summer is a weird kind of break, but yeah, just kind of let us know who you are. Let's see. So from our poll, we can see that we mostly have high school seniors, so getting ready for application starting in, I think, like October, November. Super exciting. We have some potential transfer students and also high school juniors. So thank you everyone again for joining us. I know it's an hour out of your day, so we just appreciate you guys hopping on to our virtual panel today. Okay, that's enough talking for me. Let me start asking some of the questions that have been submitted. Okay, so first question we have, does the size of UC Berkeley make it intimidating to navigate socially? Maybe Casey can answer this one.
Yeah, I can definitely take this question. So I was just like a preface of this when I first came in as a freshman at Berkeley. I was very scared because I was a little introvert, just kind of like sitting there, not really knowing what to do. But then I went through GBO, which is Golden Bear Orientation, and they kind of helped me find friends. And there's also had Caltopia and Calpalooza, plenty of Cal puns, and they helped me find friends within Berkeley. So at first glance, it definitely was and can be a little bit scary to navigate socially. I mean, my graduating class was 1,200, so I was kind of used to a lot of people, but it just kind of like was a kind of weird experience coming to Cal and kind of having to make new friends. But once I was living in the dorms, which I'd highly recommend living in the dorms. It's an experience you kind of like, should have, just kind of fun hanging out with people. But once I was living in the dorms and I started joining clubs via Calapalooza or Cal, whatever the one is, it made Berkeley a lot more manageable. So at first glance, it definitely was a little bit scary, kind of showing up and going, wow, that's a lot of people. But then again, just living in the dorms and going to all these different events and joining clubs, definitely joining clubs, it made it a lot more easy to navigate socially. So again, might be intimidating, but for at least if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, thank you, Casey, for that advice and kind of like clarifying everything. Nina or Emily, do either of you have anything to add on how to kind of navigate a large public university through like the social aspect?
Yeah, I think that one kind of stereotype that I always heard about Berkeley is that Berkeley is such a big school and you're never gonna be able to you're gonna feel so lost surrounded by so many people. But I completely disagree with that stereotype. I think that Berkeley, honestly, I've never just on an academic side, for example, I've never struggled to get the attention of my professor or of my graduate student instructor if I needed it. And I guess socially as well, I think I've never I didn't struggle to find my community. In fact, I think I found multiple communities because it is such a big school. So I think that because it's so big, you get to form those different groups. So I have a lot of different squads and I really like that. So I have my community in my consulting group, but I also have my community from in the dorms. And so I think that that's kind of really amazing about having a big university is even socially, you get to create more communities instead of just having one smaller community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think joining clubs that cater to your interests is a really good way to make a small school feel, or a big school feel small. I came from a really small high school, so I was definitely really nervous about Berkeley's size, but joining clubs and communities that kind of catered to things that I was interested in helped me find people that I had a lot of stuff in common with. And then like has been mentioned before, living in the dorms and stuff has been really, really helpful for also finding a smaller community within the large scope of Cal.
Yeah, I think you all touched on it. Just finding a smaller community with it makes it a lot easier to just navigate such a large school. But apart from that, I think you all kind of touched on clubs, and something else that kind of seems to be a popular question among students, and maybe Nina, you can tackle this one. It seems like all of you through your little panelist slide are super involved in clubs, and you have benefited from being in clubs. How did you hear about the different clubs that you've been a part of? Just word of mouth, anything that you guys would recommend if someone steps onto a college campus? How do you find those opportunities?
Yeah, so I can kind of touch upon both kind of online versus in-person experience for this. So in the in-person experience, we have Calapalooza and oh my God, Caltopia. So Caltopia is more for esports and more club sports related. I remember it was hosted in the recreational sports facility, and that's how you can get more involved into those aspects of kind of clubs on campus. And then Calapalooza is more for just other clubs. So we have over 1,000 clubs here. So if there's something that you're interested in, it is bound to be here. For example, I'm originally from Belgium. We are a tiny country. So coming to Berkeley, I thought I was probably going to be one of the only Belgians here. Well, guess what? I was walking through Calapalooza and there was a huge Belgian flag hanging over a table because there was a whole Belgian community here on campus as well. And so it's really going to surprise you how many niche and unique clubs there are. So I remember having a friend who was part of the grilled cheese club, and they would just serve grilled cheeses on every Tuesday in front of Worcester Hall, which was really fun. I could just get dinner for free. It was great. And so kind of in person, that's the experience. You'll just like also be walking through Sprout Plaza, which is kind of a social hub here on campus where a lot of students will be advocating, but also a lot of clubs will be tabling. And there's some spots on Sprout Plaza that are like elite. Like I know that, for example, my club, my Voyager Consulting, made new members save a seat at 3 a.m. like the day before. So you'd want to be tabling at 8 a.m., but you would have to sit there from like 1 a.m. onwards because you want the prime spots on Sprout Plaza. And it's not just one club that does this. No. They all will sit there at 2 a.m. to get the prime spot to get as many people as they can. So people, like you will definitely see clubs. They really are actively trying to get people involved as well. And on online, I think mostly how I saw it was on Facebook. I think, for example, I found out about campus ambassadors through a Facebook invite that was going around when I was seeing like some of my friends that we had mutuals were like saying like, oh, they're attending this event. So I think that that's how I kind of in an online setting did it. Also, I think they had an online Calapalooza where you could kind of virtually walk through a lot of different booths. But yeah, I think that you will definitely encounter at least one opportunity to join a student club because walking through Sprout, I remember as a freshman towards the end of it, I was like, okay, I don't want to be, I just want to go to class. Please leave me alone. So like they will come to you usually. So don't be intimidated by being scared of not finding opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. Yeah, there's a bunch of different, even just like Facebook or just like word of mouth, like you'll find clubs like there's over like 1,200 clubs on campus. So you're gonna like find some sort of club that like you'll just like cross paths with. Your roommate from your dorm room may be involved in something. You're like, hey, I want to join it because I know you and I have a friend. So yeah, don't worry about like finding out where clubs are. Like they're gonna be everywhere, and it's just like you going up to their table at Sproul and like having a 5-minute conversation with them. Okay. So kind of switching gears from clubs and kind of like extracurriculars that we've been talking about. Our next question comes from an audience member asking, what is the academic culture like at Berkeley? So maybe Emily, you could kind of tackle this, and if anyone else wants to add on.
Yeah, so when I was initially going between colleges and trying to figure out where I wanted to go to school, I really loved Berkeley. I loved the campus, the location, but I was a little bit intimidated by rumors that I had heard about our academic culture being super cutthroat and competitive. But since I've been here, I found that it's not the case. I've actually made some of my best friends from my classes and discussion sections and other like review sessions just by sitting next to them throughout the year or throughout the semester in lecture. And I found that everybody here has been also super collaborative. I've honestly never had a negative experience academically with another student. In fact, I've probably attributed most of my success to having friends in my classes. So I would definitely say our academic culture here is collaborative. Definitely like people are very, very passionate about what they do and they really, really love their classes. But I have found that instead of being intimidating or feeling pressured, just that the fact that everybody around me is so driven, it kind of motivates me to be better. And I think that that is really what sets Berkeley apart from other colleges is the fact that everybody here is just super passionate and super strong-willed. And I think that it really just like we all feed off of each other's energy, and it really kind of speaks to just how incredible and capable the student body at Cal is. So yeah, academic wise, I found that I've never had a negative experience with another student here.
I also want to just chime in because one story I have, because when Emily mentioned competitive, I always think of competitive versus collaborative. And one story I have is I just sat down in my chemistry study lounge, just wanted to sit alone and just do my work. And someone comes and said, hey, are you in organic chemistry? I'm like, yeah. Are you working on the problem set? Yeah. Oh, do you want to come work with us? Okay. And so I just made friends that way. And then turns out the UGSI, like undergraduate student instructor, walked in and was like, hey, I can help you guys out. And then the actual GSI came in. We all just like ended up like getting all the answers for the problem set without me even trying. I was collaborative. I was like, all my might, I didn't want to work with other people, but somehow people just are so great at working together and bring out the best in everyone. So yeah, just wanted to add on that little anecdote.
Yeah, I agree. Even virtually, I think that people always slide into your Zoom DMs. Like I'm taking summer classes and they just started yesterday, and I've been like, I was sliding into people's DMs. I was like, I'm not going through this alone. Like, so yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of That's a good thing about being on Zoom is it's kind of like you can just private message someone, and if it goes bad, it's just like you just message someone and it goes away. In person, I think it's a little more intimidating. Usually I just go for the people sitting around me because I'm too scared to like go up and talk to someone, but some people are like that. I've had people like get up out of the seat and come talk, sit next to me and talk to me like, hey, you're taking this class, want to like study at this library at this time, and like have a study group or join a Discord for the class or stuff like that. So people are super into just like helping each other, because I think like college is just easier if you have like a support system around you. So yeah, thank you all for those kind of like little anecdotes. I'm gonna have you all actually answer this next question because it's also a really good one. Next one is, what has been your favorite class that you've ever taken at Berkeley? No, it's going to be hard. You've probably taken a lot of classes, but if you can narrow it down to your 1 or 2 top classes that you recommend, for anyone potentially applying to Berkeley or even going to another university and some cool topics to, I don't know, study. So let's start with Emily, and then we'll just popcorn around.
Okay, this one is a little bit, I don't know. So my major is molecular and cell biology. So when I came to Cal, I was mostly anticipating just taking STEM classes and that's it. But what I really love about my college, the College of Letters and Science, is that they require you to take classes outside of your major to kind of get the liberal arts college experience. So for one of my breadth classes is what they're called, I took a sociology class and I was like very apprehensive about doing like social sciences or just kind of like topics that aren't STEM. But I ended up absolutely loving the class, loving all the readings. My GSI, like the graduate student instructor that led my discussion section, was awesome. I still like keep in touch with her. And yeah, I just super like I was never anticipating enjoying sociology. It was just one of those classes that I was like, oh, it's a social science, like I just won't really bother. But I'm super, super grateful to have had the opportunity to take that class. So definitely wherever you're going to school, take a sociology class, even if it's not in your major. It was super interesting to me. And I am like a hard math and science person.
I can popcorn next. So I sadly never took a sociology class, but I definitely took a class that was outside my major. So I have two of my favorite classes. So the one outside my major that was just so much fun, which I just recommend anyone taking anything outside their major because it's just crazy. I took a class about mycology, which is the study of mushrooms, and it was very fun. Like it actually covered one of my like science breaths for me, biological science breath. That's what it was, biological science breaths. But I just took it. I'm like, you know what? This class just sounds fun. It's about mushrooms. How fun could that be? And I took it, and it was just the craziest. It was all about the mushrooms like effect throughout history and how some like cavemen built like stone statues, but it was like mushrooms, or like on the cave paintings they had mushrooms in the paintings. That means there's mushrooms back then. And then like on old paintings on thatched roofs, there were mushrooms going on the roof, which you could tell meant that there are mushrooms back. It was the craziest mumbo jumbo. And like the idea that we went mushroom collecting in Tilden Regional Park, which is just in the hills behind Berkeley. We also like discussed the psychedelic effects of mushrooms and how, actually, get this, there's a theory that one type of mushroom is actually the cause of Santa Claus. Mushroom is white and red, and you take it and it makes it look like animals are flying. And so the idea is that somebody found this mushroom in the forest, took it, saw reindeers flying, and it was red and white. It's like, oh my God, Santa. This class was amazing. It was a great class. We also like to learn about bacteria and fermentation. And like we actually went to a place that like brews its own beer. It was great, fun, incredibly wonderful class. So take classes outside your major. I also had another favorite class is actually in my major. And this was just basically for chemistry. It was just like teaching you how to use certain machines, but you get to design the experiments that you're using the machine for. And this is just fun because I actually went around and were testing the amounts of different metals in the water around Berkeley. And it was just kind of neat because it actually applied to me. Like I went to different water fountains and found out that all the water at Berkeley is legally safe. I mean, we all would hope for that, but yeah, we found that out. I also like found out what gives different alcohols their taste, like based on how much ethanol and how much propanol and the other anols, how much of them were in like whiskey and how much was in different types of whiskeys. That's what, it was just a great fun class that was actually in my major. So that was a fun class, but also mycology. So yeah.
I love hearing people's favorite classes. My favorite classes, not gonna lie, are a little bit boring, but that's because they're my major prerequisites. And see, that's why I'm majoring in these subjects, because I really love those classes. But so basically, one of my classes is Stat 20. It's a class that a lot of people always avoid, and I personally was one of those people who was trying to avoid it. But then I took it, and I absolutely fell in love with Stat because of it. It was so fun personally. Like, I absolutely love the professor, the way he was teaching it. He just like honestly made me love the class so much. And like, it was weird, but it was one of the only classes where I like enjoyed taking a quiz. Like, I've never ever enjoyed taking a quiz, but I was always like, oh my God, these questions are so fun. Like, I feel like a nerd right now. But yes, it was really cool. Highly recommend that class. Don't listen to people who say that it's so hard and like avoid it. No, the professors are really nice. And then another class that I really enjoyed was Econ 100B. It was kind of an upper division econ class. So I first had I took Econ 2 as well, which was with the Professor Romer, with the Romers, who Kristina Romer was actually the head economic advisor of to Obama when he was president. And so she would always like mix those in. And then this Econ 100B professor was also super cool. She worked at the Fed, and she was talking about how she knew oh my God, I always forget her name. I think it's Simone something, but she's the head of the Fed in SF, and she just like casually talks about how they're best friends. And to me, I was like, I wish I was an economist now, but I'd already declared business. But I was like, no, econ right now sounds awesome, which is why I then also like decided to be an econ tutor, which is really cool. And then my one last class that was awesome was I decided to take one class out of my college, which is in the College of Environmental Design, sorry. So I take a landscape architecture class because I'd never taken that before. I was so interested, like, what even is landscape architecture? I don't know. So I took LA 12, and basically it was really, really cool. The professor was super into stream health. And so we actually got to walk through Strawberry Creek, which is a kind of stream that goes through our campus, and we got to measure like microinvertebrates and like stream health. And we were just like learning about really cool things about like how back in the day Strawberry Creek was actually like very toxic, but now there's like fish populations are coming back to the creek, and it's just like, it's really cool. So highly recommend that class as well if you want something out of your major, and also that is just really fun and you learn a lot.
Yeah, I think there's just so many classes at Berkeley that you don't even get like the chance to take. So just like go into every class with an open mind. Don't go in like, oh my God, I've heard like horror stories about this class. A lot of class that supposedly had horror stories, and I loved them, and I love the professor. So like just go into it with an open mindset, or any college class you take, because usually the professors are super passionate about what they're teaching about. So if you just like kind of like zone into that, you'll usually have a really fun time in the class. Okay, but now that we've talked a little bit about classes and kind of what we're generally studying, I wanted to put the second poll up on the screen. This poll is asking, what are you interested in? So it's multiple choice in case you're like myself and just like love a bunch of stuff. You can kind of click around. But yeah, feel free to answer that in the next couple seconds. Seems like a lot of students are interested in the social sciences, and then some engineering, bio, environmental. Pretty good. Sadly, not a lot of chemistry or architecture, but pretty good spread of all the other majors. Okay, so with that, let's go on to our next question that kind of revolves, what was the question? It was over here. Kind of revolves around majors and just like careers and kind of what like juniors and seniors are like, what do I want to do when I grow up? I know that's like a really big question. So just want to hear from each of our panelists, but I guess mostly Casey, because you've kind of been through 4 years of Berkeley. Did you come to Berkeley with a major or career plan in mind, or did you just like come in undeclared, didn't know what you wanted to do, and kind of like found out during your time here?
Awesome question. So yeah, I actually, when I was applying to Berkeley, I really didn't know. I had kind of planned my life 1 year ahead. So as I was a senior, I was like, you know what? What even colleges are out there? So kind of like one year ahead. And so I just knew that I liked chemistry. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to do like chemical engineering, chemical biology, just plain chemistry, who knows? But for me, I transferred, which I mean, is not a good path to follow. I would definitely say if you have something that you even like remotely want, to apply in for that college. But for me, I applied into College of Letters and Science. Like, you know what, I'm thinking about chemistry, but I don't know yet. And I was undeclared. I eventually just took more classes at Berkeley, and I found out, yeah, chemistry is definitely the way for me to go. So I came in with a path, but like my paperwork didn't reflect that. My mind reflected that, but the paperwork just said undeclared. So eventually, after a gruesome time of me trying to get into the College of Chemistry, it is a very difficult process. I was actually able to transfer into College of Chemistry and major in chemistry. So that was just my way of getting into Berkeley. Was I came in undeclared in Letters and Science because it's the largest college and they have so much to offer. That way I kind of went, you know what, if I'm looking for something and I'm not really sure what that exact thing is, Letters and Science will probably have it offered up to me. And then I could always transfer into some other colleges if I keep my GPA high enough and if I talk to advisors in both Letters of Science and College of Chemistry. And that's what I ended up doing. But I definitely recommend for anyone else, like, because that was like a process and a half for me to do that. For everyone else, if you even like remotely kind of like, you know, I might want to get into a different college or maybe even this, I would recommend going to that college first. And then if you want, transferring out of it. Because when you when you go into College of Chemistry or College of Engineering, you apply into the major, and once you're in, you have that major, you're done, like that's it. Versus Letters of Science, you apply in as undeclared, but like majoring, or what's it called? Oh my God, anyway, you apply with with a major in mind, and so eventually you'll then declare that major. And so since I didn't declare a major in LNS, I had to transfer College of Chemistry. It was slightly difficult. Going the other way, it works out. So that's just my one like tidbit, is I didn't really know what I wanted, so I went to LNS because like, you know what, why not? It's much easier to do it the other way around. Go into chemistry and go, you know what, I actually don't want chemistry, I want biology. Then you can go out. It's an easier pathway that way. And that's just my 2 cents on the matter.
Yeah, that kind of answers the next question I was going to ask. Someone asked in the Q&A whether it's easy or difficult and what's the process of changing majors. It really depends what major you're switching in and out of, what like difficulty level that pertains to, but it is possible. I know a lot of people switch between colleges, so it's completely possible if you change your mind here, but always kind of go in with what you intend on studying. It makes the process a lot easier. But yeah, that was a pretty good sum up, I think, of Casey. Does anyone else have like a completely different story to Casey where you like knew exactly what you were going to do, never change majors, stuff like that?
I feel like I might be a little bit like that. I think that's just part of my personality. I've always a planner. I think that I've already thought out my life 10 years ahead. Obviously, I do have like some flexibility, but I think that's just my personality. I came into Cal being pretty confident that I wanted to do either econ or business. And but you know, I did discover that along the way, I fell in love with statistics as well. So it is like I did have a clear mind, and like in my post-career goals, I am already working towards that. But I think that one thing that I have noticed though, like even though that is my personality, like I came into Cal being so sure that this is what I wanted to do. But being at Cal, you start realizing that there's so many other things out there. Like as a high schooler, like you can't imagine some of the things that like you can do. Like I genuinely was shocked when I was hearing some of my friends being like, oh my God, yeah, I'm working at Amazon this summer. I'm going to Apple. And I'm like, wait, what? Like you're going to the place like my phone, you know, kind of thing. And so all of a sudden, like I'm starting to see so many different doors and so many other pathways that I hadn't even considered. And so although I'm really I came in being super confident about what I want to do, I can see that it's actually slowly progressing and changing. So like, although I am, you know, I did end up declaring business like I intended, I am slowly noticing that actually I'm really interested as well in looking more into like data science after I graduate instead of solely working in a business role. And I think that that's like the beauty of Berkeley, is that you're going to realize that there's so many things here and you're probably going to change your mind. You are. I have definitely changed my mind so many times. And even people who come with a set plan are going to change it.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself there. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think half of the students come into Berkeley exactly knowing what they want to do and like right off the bat do that. And there's some students that kind of don't exactly know. A lot of students, like even especially in LNS, like everyone comes into that college technically undeclared with an intended major. And during like the taking of those general eds and those prerequisite classes, you kind of have the flexibility of moving between majors. So there's definitely time within your first 2 years to figure out what you actually want to do. I think we for sure, I think in the College of Letters and Science by itself, we have like almost 100 majors. So if you add up all the majors within UC Berkeley, it's probably like close to 200. So there's definitely like a bunch of things that you don't even know that you can study that you can do while here. So yeah, okay, let's see. Okay, we're at 1:30. So let's do a couple more questions before our next poll. Kind of on the mindset of majors and just career paths. Wanted to bring up this next question, and anyone can take it, that came into the Q&A. Is there a career counseling center? How does it work? Have any of you used the resources there? Any like workshops, anything like that, through the career center?
Being a senior and having to get an actual job in the real world, I can definitely say that I've used some of the resources for the career center. One of which are also through my college. So I guess two of them that I used was with my college. They actually had career fairs, and also they had them over Zoom, where they just had a presentation. They had people come and show up and say, "Hey, we're looking. This is what our company is. This is how you apply. Like, go to us." It's just very nice kind of having people show up to me instead of having me look for them. So that was kind of a nice thing to have. But also one other resource that I definitely used, like, which more of like finding jobs, not like career counseling, but like finding jobs, was with Handshake. So Handshake is like LinkedIn for Berkeley. And specifically, companies come to Berkeley and say, "Hey, we have a job and we want Berkeley students. We don't want just a run-of-the-mill anybody, any other like, architect. We want a Berkeley architect. We don't want any other chemist. We want Berkeley chemist." So they put up their job listing and say what the requirements are, and that's not like anyone else can find it. Just Berkeley students can find what the listing is. I forget, someone on another tour at one point said that they applied to a job, and these people put up their job listing only at like UCLA and Berkeley, because they said, "You know what? We just want one of the top public universities, so we just made the listing available to you guys." So it's just very nice having Handshake, because they already know how great Berkeley is, and like, if you're going to graduate from Berkeley, we already want you. Like, that's it. Like, we want it. So I definitely use Handshake looking for all my jobs, especially for around the Bay Area. But even Handshake is available for like internships, and also finding them outside of the Bay Area, and then also the career fairs that my college put on, and also just the career center put on, just to help you find a job, because it can be a little bit difficult, a little bit intimidating to kind of just go online and just Google like chemistry jobs near me. So Handshake and Career Center definitely made it more available than just like, Googling it. So they're very nice.
Yeah, I've hopped on Handshake a couple times. Oh, sorry, Nina. Hopped on Handshake a couple times, and just like applying to jobs or internships or just like any opportunities there is super like easy. I just have my resume like on already Handshake, and I just kind of click submit to like 12 different things, and I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. And then they'll get back to you and send you messages. But yeah, Nina, anything else that you wanted to add on about the Career Center or any advising, anything like that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that like the Career Center, especially for freshmen out there, even if you're a high schooler, like I highly doubt you have a resume or you know what a resume looks like, and they can help you with that. Like they have like a lot of templates online about different resumes for engineering, different resumes for business, for chemistry. I mean, you can also schedule appointments. And I don't know if there's any international students on the tour, but if you are an international student, you have your whole personal department within the Career Center where they help you with all of that visa issues that you might be having. So that's really nice. Like I can easily hop on with a career advisor within 10 minutes if I need anything. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think most of the offices within UC Berkeley are just like always like literally a phone call and email away. So like any of the resources we talk about today, or even the ones that we don't, usually you could just email them, and like by 24 hours you'll get some sort of response like, "Oh, hey, this is the link that you need to do to access this resource," or "This is when our upcoming workshop for this is happening." So usually if you just like reach out to them, they're more than happy to help you. Okay, so talking about kind of advice, I wanted to go back to another question that came in. This question will go to Emily, but what is the best way to make sure you're getting the academic advice and just like any other mentorship that you might need in your time at Berkeley?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this one. So all of our colleges on campus have like when you enter a college, especially the College of Letters and Science, you generally enter undeclared. So all of the colleges have their own academic advising available to students to schedule whenever you want. The scheduling process is super streamlined. They have tons of appointments every single day. It's a super nice resource for people to use. And then once you declare your major, especially within the College of Letters and Science, you've specialized major advisors that are specifically trained to talk to you about your major and classes within your major and careers within your major. And even, I believe, with most of the major advisors, you're still able to meet with them even if you're not declared yet. So you can talk about prerequisite courses or just get any questions answered that you need. So I would say that Berkeley's like advising is very, very open availability wise. I've gone in for same day advising, just like walk-in appointments, usually when there's like drop-in advising over Zoom. And then when things were in person, you could just drop in and like walk into the building and talk to an advisor. So I would definitely say that Cal students definitely have to be self-aware of like when to ask for help, but once you are able to understand like what you need help in, there's always an answer waiting for you. And the advisors, like they mentioned before, are only a phone call away.
Yeah, thank you for that, Emily. So yeah, that I think gives a pretty good understanding about like the academic culture, what resources there are at Berkeley, and just like how to kind of get your foot in the door. So we're gonna launch our next poll right now. The next poll should be asking you where you're joining us from. So I know, actually, I forgot exactly where everyone's from, but I know me and Casey are from Southern California. I know a lot of students are, but we also have international students from like all around the world here at UC Berkeley. So just want to kind of know where you're watching us from today. Seems like it's mostly Eastern time zone in Southern California. That's honestly pretty typical of these tours. But yeah, even some international students. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Either good morning or good night, good afternoon to everyone. And for any of you who have not been to UC Berkeley campus, haven't been to the Bay Area, one question that was asked is, what is there to do like in the UC Berkeley campus? What's the Bay Area like? Anything to do around the Bay Area? And Emily, you can start off with this one. And if anyone else has any recommendations or just like thoughts on the Bay Area / UC Berkeley, feel free to add on.
Yeah, so I was actually born in the Bay Area before my family moved to Sacramento. So we spent a lot of time in the Bay as I was growing up, just visiting family members and family friends. But I never really got to explore the Bay like on my own as like a young adult. So I was really excited to come to Cal because even if you've been to the Bay Area or spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, living in Berkeley is just a whole other experience, honestly. And I always like to say that we go to the best like college town ever because in my opinion, we totally do. There's so much to do in the Bay Area. San Francisco is literally just like, I think from my apartment to downtown San Francisco, it's like 20 something minutes with no traffic. And there's a ton of public transportation that is available to students. We have like a free or a Clipper card that we can use for the bus system around campus is totally free to students. And then you can also load it up with money to use BART, which is the Bay Area Regional Transport, which is like a kind of train system that goes all around the Bay Area. But even if you don't want to like travel outside of Berkeley, there's still so much happening in Berkeley. On weekend nights, there will be like street vendors that just set up and down Telegraph, which is like the street or that runs like right up to Berkeley's campus. There's like a traveling vintage market that has happened. I think it happens on like the last Sunday of every month, and it happens literally right by like one of the dorms, like the dorm that I lived in freshman year. And then also downtown Berkeley just has tons of great food. There's always like performances happening on campus. There's really never a dull moment. If you want to go out and do something, there will be something for you to do in normal times, of course. I think that it's been a little bit different on the online kind of area, but still there's so much to do in the Bay Area. I don't think I'll ever get tired of living here. But yeah, I really do love being in Berkeley, and there is just so much cool stuff to explore in the Bay.
Yeah, I echo everything that Emily said. From like someone coming from Southern California, I absolutely love it. I don't know, they always like ask me like, do you like SoCal or like the Bay Area? It's kind of hard. They're both really great places. So like I think California overall is just like a great state to like go to school in because there's just so much around you. But I think the thing that makes Berkeley super unique is that it's literally like a college town, and like all the little shops are kind of like centered around like college students and the apartments and everything. So you're really just kind of like living within other students, and you're kind of like, I don't know, putting yourself within the community. It's really, really cool. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have left before we wrap this up. Oh, this is a good question. Maybe Nina can answer this one. Someone asked, how do you balance enjoying the college experience with focusing on the next phase of life? Could you speak more to the pressure that Berkeley's culture brings in this regard, just like kind of balancing out academics and social life?
Yeah, I think that is kind of completely up to you sometimes and how you schedule. I think that's the beauty of college. You get to make your own schedule, do whatever you want, because all of a sudden you don't have to take mandatory classes like I used to have in high school. And so, for example, okay, how do I even start? Okay, so for example, let me start with an example. So I think the key thing to be able to balance as well is to create a plan. Like a 4-year plan is going to be your best friend. It is mine. It's always on my desktop. But so basically, for example, last fall, so fall 2020, I decided that I wanted to focus a lot more on my social life. I wanted to join more clubs. I wanted to be more involved in my clubs. So I took less classes. So instead of taking my typical unit class, 18 unit classes, I decided to take about 12, 13 units so that I could focus more on making more better friends. And especially it was the middle of the pandemic. So it does take a lot more effort to stay in contact with a lot of people. So that's kind of what I did. But then that did mean that, for example, spring 2021, I had to take a heavier course load to make up for the fact that I did reduce my coursework a little bit. And so that semester I focused a lot more on my academic life because that was something that was really important to me. So I think that the way I always approach this about trying to find a balance is I just set goals for myself. So for that semester, what is my goal? Am I focusing more on my social life? Am I focusing more on my professional life? Or am I focusing more on academics? And I think being able to set those goals is going to help you a lot in trying to find balance, because then you'll realize okay, what do I value right now? Do I want to do this more, or am I more enjoying this? And I think that one thing that I will say is at first as a freshman, you will be quite overwhelmed because there's so many different pathways that you could go. You're all of a sudden wow, I could be going to a club at 8 p.m., but also there's this other event happening at 9 p.m. Maybe, wait, actually, so I think it's just going to have to be planning, Google Calendar, and sometimes also don't try to overcommit. There will be a tendency, I freshman year definitely went to so many different clubs because I was okay, I just want to get involved in everything. But I think that it's okay to take it slow. You don't have to try everything your first semester. You still have 4 years here at Cal to try all of the things that you want to. So I would just say, take it slow, see where you want to go, and kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, I love that advice. Yeah, I think prioritizing what you want for that semester, I think especially during your first couple semesters, it's probably going to be academics, but I think as you go on to junior and senior year, it's focusing on what you're going to do after college, focusing on social life, because you're oh my God, my time's running out at Berkeley. I want to join more clubs, stuff like that. So yeah, just putting goals for yourself and just kind of even talking to your academic advisor can sometimes help. Obviously they're going to put school first, but they also know we're students and they'll kind of be hey, you have a lot going on your plate. They might recommend taking less of a course load and stuff like that. So yeah, just talking to people and reaching out to those resources. Okay, next question we have is, we'll start off with Casey actually, because he's had the most time here at Berkeley. But what is something that a student has to do before graduating Cal? And just generally any fun traditions, any fun things that are on campus that every student can do during their time at Berkeley.
Awesome. So I'm going to try to keep this brief because I want everyone else to have a chance to answer, but there's a few definitely bucket list things to do. One is we have a giant block letter C up in our hill at Berkeley. Go and check that out. It has amazing views. It's also a great tips and tricks. Do it at sundown because it just looks gorgeous with the sun setting, because the sun sets in the west, and just the San Francisco Bay and just the lights and the Golden Gate Bridge and the Campanile. Beautiful. The Campanile in both Emily and Nina's background, actually, you can see that from the top of the sea. It's great. So yeah, definitely recommend doing that. Another fun tradition that I would say to not just be a part of, but also, yeah, I'm going to go just two more. One is that big game week. Our main rival in football is Stanford. Our main rival in everything is Stanford. Show up to big game week, go to the game, go to all the fun traditions happening throughout that entire week. The giant bonfire that we have, we just light on fire. It's now bonfire structure with propane. It's actually pretty cool and pretty just great to seeing everyone get all excited for fire. It's awesome. So definitely go to that. And then finally, one other tradition that I would say it's like a fun, but also like, just to enjoy the craziness of college, is we have the week before finals we have no classes. It's called RRR week, reading, writing, recitation week. And for RRR week, the Thursday of RRR week, there is a time when everyone just kind of undresses and runs through the libraries for fun. And I don't have to be a part of it, but it's definitely like a bucket list item that I would say. So that was just traditions, and yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll definitely echo, I can't speak to the RRR week tradition, but I can definitely echo the big game week. It is just the most fun. There are rallies happening all over campus, especially there's a big one in Sproul Plaza. I believe it's the Friday before big game, where like the dance team, the rally committee, all of our like spirit groups will come together. The band will start playing. The band goes around to like every dorm courtyard before football games and like plays the Cal fight song. And it's just like a super good like display of school spirit. And definitely attend the big game, regardless of whether it's a home game or an away game. Definitely go to the big game. It is so fun. I was so lucky to be able to go the first time that we won in 10 years last year. So definitely go to the big game because you never know what'll happen.
Yeah, I think the big game is always really fun. I have some of my really close friends from high school are at Stanford, so it's always really nice. We always meet up on that day. But I think for me, what is one thing I wish I would do? I think right now I have this like running list of restaurants that I want to try in Berkeley. So I guess that my bucket list item would be like to finish that list because it just keeps growing. It never shrinks. And so it's an issue because I really want to try all of these amazing places. And so I'm trying to do that this summer. I have my little summer bucket list of restaurants I want to try. But I guess the Berkeley food is just unrivaled. Even the dorm food is really good. Like sometimes I will still crave Crossroads, which is like a dining hall here on campus. And my roommate works there. So she always brings back food, even during the summer. Like yesterday, we literally had Croats pasta and it was amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, there's honestly so many traditions at Berkeley that like you can't even name all of them. And there's also a tradition to roll down one of our main hills on campus in hopes of getting a 4.0 that semester. So at the beginning of the semester, it's really funny to just see like everyone rolling down it. So yeah, there's just like so many things that like happen around campus, and like once you're a student here, you'll like slowly find out about all of them. But yeah, I don't know if every student can do every single tradition on campus, but do a couple, do one or two, to just like be like, oh hey, I did that when I was an undergrad at UC Berkeley. Okay, so Nina kind of talked about the dining hall food, but someone in the Q&A actually asked, what's the dorm living experience like? So Emily, if you want to talk a little bit about it, and then Nina and Casey, if you have anything to add on, feel free to do so.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different options in terms of dorm life, actually. We have our like traditional like dorms, like doubles and triples, all on like a floor together with like a communal bathroom, or you could choose to live in the mini suites where it's just 2 rooms with like a bathroom in between. But I personally lived in the like traditional style dorms. I lived in a triple my freshman year in Unit 3. And honestly, I was a little bit apprehensive about dorm life just because I have never shared a room with anyone before. And also I'm like a big introvert, surprisingly. So I needed my recharge time. But I absolutely loved living in the dorms. I think that it is an experience that everybody needs to have in college. I met a lot of like still to this day, a lot of my really good friends came from my dorm room or my dorm floor, or my building. Your like orientation group is traditionally going to be people that are in your building. So it's a really great way to kind of get a solid like starter group of friends, but I just never really strayed from them. I still talk to a lot of them today, and it's a good time. I loved living in the dorms. And it's also kind of just like a 9-month long sleepover. Like there's always going to be people like out in the hallways. There's always stuff happening in the lounges, which are like the common spaces, on every other floor. And there's also like a big one on the bottom floor that there were like movie nights. Mine had a pool table, and a piano. I walked in one day and Oski, our mascot, was playing the piano in my like dorm room. I wish that I could make this up, but I am not even kidding. Oski was playing the piano, our like mascot, in our like common room. So the dorm experience is really fun, and it's just a great way to meet people too.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I think, yeah, for first year students, obviously it's for UC Berkeley, it's not mandatory to live in the dorms, but especially if you're not from the Bay Area and like can't like commute back and forth, I would recommend go like living in the dorms. It's a really unique experience, and it's honestly really nice to just have a bunch of students around you because you're all kind of going through the same thing, like living away from home for the first time ever. And you just like make, I was also in a triple in unit 3. Unit 3 is like best unit ever. There's always like a bunch happening and it's super close to campus. I remember we would like just hang out in the lounge till like 1 2 a.m, either studying or on the weekends just like laughing, like ordered pizza and sodas and stuff like that. So like a bunch of stuff to do in the dorms, and highly recommend, because I know like most of the people I've talked to have like kind of cherish that experience and like even go on to living in on-campus apartments and other on-campus housing after that. Okay, so we'll go on to our last question for the day. In these last 10 minutes, I want to give everyone enough time to answer it. Last question that was asked is, what made you choose UC Berkeley? So it's kind of a heavy question, but I know we all kind of like got to UC Berkeley different ways. And I think some of our attendees kind of want to know what brought us to the school and what made us like choose UC Berkeley over other universities. So yeah, we'll start off with Casey and then go with Emily, and then we'll wrap up with Nina.
Awesome. So with my Berkeley story, the reason that I chose it, it's a very prestigious university, but it was mostly just to get back at my twin sister. So my entire life, I've had my twin sister, and we've been competing for me. Of course, I had her for my entire life, but we've been competing our entire life about who's the better twin. She was better at reading and writing. I was better at like science and just like athletics. It was just, I was definitely the better twin, obviously. But so she got into UCLA and I was waitlisted at Berkeley. I was like, oh, God dang it. Like, you know what? Fine. You know, she's going to go to number 2 public university. But I got off the wait list. I'm like, without even thinking like, you know, oh, is Berkeley even a good school? I just accept, like, I'm going to beat my sister. I'm going to the number 1 public university. But then I went to Cal Day, or in process of also just, you know, waitlisted. I went to Cal Day, and that was just our a day. It's like our open house for Berkeley, where everyone just kind of comes and sees what Berkeley has to offer. I went there and I just loved it to death. Like, I, being from Southern California, it was the perfect distance away to where my mom can visit if needed, but like give me like a heads up first. You can't just like pop in like she does with my sister at UCLA. I was also just, I love the weather. I love everything at Berkeley. I love the Bay Area, just being able to walk 2 BARTs to then take it to San Francisco, that having to drive, like that was just LA, you could never. So that was also great. And this is all just like, aside from the academics, getting to know everything at Berkeley, like, and going, and also like the chemistry program is really great here. I really love being a part of this chemistry program. Like, there's so much history involved with it. I can give you a whole tour on that. But yeah, I loved it so much. And also the spirit is really what kept me. Just the fact that showing up and everyone's yelling "Go Bears" and everyone's wearing blue and gold, and just the spirit really stuck with me. And that's actually the number 1 reason I chose Berkeley, was all the spirit we have to offer here. And how passionate everyone is for their school, but also for the school, like academic wise and also spirit wise, which is great. Like, I'm in Southern California. I wore a Berkeley mask actually to the store the other day, and someone yelled "Go Bears," and I was like, okay, like it says like a little small print right here, "Go Bears," but okay. But yeah, I just love the spirit. I actually also bought a pair of red shorts. My freshman year, they still have the tag on them because Berkeley doesn't wear red. So yeah, it's just yeah, that's the number 1 reason why I chose Berkeley, was the spirit, to slightly despite my sister, but also for the spirit. And it's also like my tidbit to everyone else, is that no matter what school, get involved with the spirit. Just, I mean, make the university your university through the spirit. And that's my Berkeley story.
Thank you, Casey. That was really sweet. Mine is actually kind of similar. It starts a little bit different. So I went to a really tiny private high school in my little tiny mountain town. And my graduating class was 43 people. So I was super nervous about going to a big public university. But I knew that I wanted to go somewhere with a really strong science program. I knew that I was going to major in biology. I knew that I wanted to do research as an undergraduate. And Berkeley really checked all those boxes for me. It was kind of a heartbreaking decision because I got into both of my top choices, which was Berkeley and one other school. But after coming to Cal Day and just seeing the seeing the spirit and seeing all of the love that people had for the campus, it really did seal the deal. I remember talking to a friend, and I was, kind of trying to weigh the options with her, because I'm like a very like numerical person. So I really wanted to like make my pro and cons list. And she just said to me, Emily, like every time you talk about Berkeley, like your eyes just sparkle, like you just have stars in your eyes, like you have to go there. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I have to go there. And since coming here, I've just had an incredible experience. Also, I've just met the coolest people ever that I would never have crossed paths with otherwise. I really love the diversity on campus. I come from a not very diverse area of California, so being exposed to all these different cultures, languages, people with all these different interests is just super, super inspiring. And I just absolutely love everyone I've met here. And then also kind of to touch on the spirit, when the pandemic first started and I moved back home, I was working at the Starbucks that I worked at in high school, a little Starbucks drive-through in my hometown. And my mom had gotten me like a mask that had like Cal print on it. There was a lady in my hometown who was a Cal alumni who was like selling the masks. And so I would wear it like in the Starbucks drive-through. And like when I was handing people their drinks out the window, I heard so many like Go Bears, so many different alumni stories or like parents of children who went to Cal. And I even met like a physics professor who was retired and living in my hometown who used to teach at Cal. So yeah, when you're joining Berkeley or when you're going to Berkeley, it's more than just a university. It really is a community. There's just so many incredible things happening on this campus every single day, and so many incredible people that it's producing and educating. And I'm so, so grateful for the opportunity to go here. So thank you so much for listening to us talk about how much we love it here.
Yeah, I don't know. I love hearing people's Berkeley stories so much. Mine started like most people, I guess, senior year of high school. If you knew me back then, and even still now, I guess, I was one of the most indecisive people you'll ever meet. So trying to figure out where I was going to go to college seemed like an impossible decision. And so when it came down to two universities, Berkeley and another school, I went to my college counselor and I was like, hey, I don't know what to do. Like, these are both really great schools. And I had no idea what to do. And so she gave me a piece of advice and she said, for one day, pretend like you accepted Berkeley and pretend like you're going there. And then for one day, pretend like you accepted the other school and pretend like that is you're going to be your life from now on. And so for the first day, I pretended like I was going to the other school. I was like I was going on LinkedIn. I was stalking different people. I was looking at clubs. I was like, oh my God, yeah, these are the clubs I'm going to be joining. Like, yeah, these are going to be my friends. Like I even did like a Google Maps job feature, which you now no longer have to do because Berkeley now has a U visit that Kristina will talk to you about later. But yeah, so I was trying the most I can. I was an international student. So I couldn't come to either of the campuses. And so I was just trying my best to see what it was like to be a student there. And I was so surprised. I came back to my college counselor and I was like, without a doubt, Berkeley is the place for me. I've not been there, but I just knew that there were so many things that I could be doing here. From not even being there, I could see myself doing econ, but I really love learning languages. So on top of being a double major, I'm studying German as well. And I used to really love graphic design. And so here at Berkeley, I'm doing a lot of internships that are business related, but I'm also doing a lot of graphic design work for them. And so I could just see myself Berkeley offering so much to me. And that is exactly what I needed. I was somebody who, once I see something, I just want to do it. And here at Berkeley, I think that one thing I've learned is that everything is so contagious, if that makes sense. Like you want to be doing so many different things. And I love that about me. And I think that, I love that Berkeley has turned me into that person. Like I think with no other school is going to turn you into this leader that I've seen in other, like just from peers that have graduated, like in the industry, people really value the hard work and grit that Berkeley students have. And I think that personally, I am so grateful for all of the mentors that I've met here and all of the people who've really inspired me to become a better person than what I ever thought I could be. And I think Casey always says this sometimes in his Berkeley stories where he goes like, don't choose a college based on the person that you are now, but choose a college based on the person who you want to be after you graduate. And that is exactly what Berkeley was going to offer me exactly the person that I want to be. So.
Wow, all of you have you guys have the best Berkeley stories. Thank you so much for sharing those. I'm going to share screen really quick and give you guys There we go. Give you guys a few resources on how to contact us after this virtual visit. So Nina already plugged it, but you can go on to uvisit.com/Berkeley, walk around our entire campus. I've actually been on it. You can like go inside of certain buildings and they'll be at certain stops, different people talking about either like Berkeley history, a certain department. There's just like a bunch of like figures just standing there. You can meet our chancellor, you can meet a bunch of different campus ambassadors, stuff like that. So recommend checking that out. Follow us on social media. You can follow us on, I think we have an Instagram and a YouTube channel, and they're both at Visit UC Berkeley. Instagram, if you just kind of want to check different photos of what campus ambassadors are doing, or our YouTube channel has a bunch of different recorded virtual panels, virtual visits, a bunch of different stuff on there. Again, if you have any questions after today's tour, any questions we didn't get to, feel free to email tour@berkeley.edu and we'll get back to you with a response. We also have a Bear Talk blog at beartalk.berkeley.edu if you want to hear kind of long form content about what students are doing on campus. There's a bunch of Berkeley stories on there, I know there's a couple questions on study abroad that we didn't get to, a bunch of study abroad stories on there, just like anything and everything you need to know about campus ambassador stories is on there. 150 Years of Women, we had that celebration this past year, so feel free to visit 150w.berkeley.edu. Check that out. Admissions presentation and other virtual visits and engineering visits. As always, feel free to join in as many as you want and kind of just watch along and learn a little bit more about Berkeley. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us in this hour. Thank you to all of our panelists for an amazing panel and answering all those different questions that came in through the Q&A today. So yeah, thank you everyone. And we're gonna end off the panel with the Go Bears on 3. So if everyone wants to unmute themselves, okay, Go Bears on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Bears!
Go Bears!